Hey everybody, it's me, Jake, from Jakin.Off. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. This week, I'm joined by a very special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, big warm round of applause for Steven Taylor. Let him hear it. Let Steven hear it. Take your hands off the wheel. Clap your hands. Take them off. Just kidding. That's not real advice. Don't do that. I don't know. Could we get in trouble for that? Whatever. It's fine. Welcome to the pod, Steve.
Hello.
Old Steven.
Hello.
We talk a little bit about a celebrity hot list at the beginning of this. And then we play a funny clip, and then after that, it's all about some pretty depressing shit. But like I've been saying, you know, I don't want to be the voice of reason here on Jakin.Off. It's not what I'm trying to do, but they keep forcing my hand. The mainstream media, you know, these people with their political agendas, they won't bend to my will, and they're causing me to have to do this podcast in a manner that I wish I didn't have to. But if nobody else is going to shine a light on the dirty underbelly, then I guess it's got to be me. I guess it's got to be Jakin.Off. So we talk a lot about federalism and how awful it is, and the KKK.
It's really
racism. And I think, you know, I think there's some humorous points, but for the most part, it's probably just pretty informational. And that's what it is. So I hope you guys enjoy the episode. As always, you can find this podcast on social media at Jakin.Off.Podcast. And you can send anything at all to Jakin.Off.Podcast at gmail.com. Send anything at all there. I'll look at it at least once. That's the guarantee. That's the Jakin.Off guarantee. So without further ado, everybody, enjoy the episode and have a good listen to the episode.
Won't you take off with me? Oh, I know it's your fantasy. Oh, won't you take off with me? Yeah, we're taking off every week.
Okay,
we're deep in it.
You got to explain what this guy made exactly. Again.
Exactly, which
So,
we have the IMDb list.
Where is that?
You know, you're going to have to... this is the list. That's it.
That's right here?
Yeah, 200. Maybe go down one more. Maybe I sent you two.
Okay, this one.
This is,
No, that's the same thing. It goes down a little bit. There's this. Okay.
okay, yeah. I mean, but if you just go up, you see AndreasGreek. So at the...
Yeah.
200 plus hot female celebrities.
AndreasGreek. So
so
you
that's
see this guy, and you're like, who is this? And he's just a user on IMDb.
Yeah, so you could see 815,000 views.
That's a lot of views.
Created 10 years ago, modified 4 months ago.
So
this
he's
guy's keeping up with it. It's the one thing he's got that's getting traction online.
Yeah.
And this is his thing. But his number one is fucking Elisa Cuthbert. And I was like, I've never even thought of this woman. So you know that's how it got started. I would bet all of my money that Alicia Cuthbert has been number one for 10 years.
Yeah.
Like there is, and then everything else is just what comes next.
Yeah, very telling.
And
very telling about this, what this guy likes.
This is the people.
No, this is just some guy on IMDb.
Oh, you guys.
This is just a guy who's horny on IMDb.
Yeah.
Being like, Alicia Cuthbert is the hottest lady.
Well, but also trying to curate a good list, dude. The list is good. The list is not.
The list is good besides this?
Well, dude, no, yeah. So this is what I thought was funny. At first I watched his number one rated movies were like Mulholland Drive and Memento. And I was like, dude, this guy kind of rips. This guy's like pretty amazing. And then I realized that the way an IMDb has it is it was flipped. And it was actually his least rated movies, like his lowest rated movies.
No.
And so then I put on his top rated movies.
Yeah.
Number 1, Dark Knight. Number 2, the TV show 24. Number 3, I can't remember. Number 4, Dark Knight Rises. Number 5, Girl Next Door. Girl Next Door and 24 both have Elisa Cuthbert in them.
Yeah, dude,
like,
he just thinks
like,
this lady's so hot.
He loves Batman and Elisa Cuthbert. I thought about inviting him to come over here. I thought about getting him on the pod.
Here are the other ones. Yeah, this is
1, 2, and 3. What's
1,
3?
2, and 3. Lord of the Rings, dude.
This guy rules.
Lord of the Rings,
I love this
Return Return of the King is amazing.
He
like,
loves
that's a great.
Elisa Cuthbert, and
That's the only one that he's right about. The other ones, The Dark Knight Rises, might as well be like.
Yeah, that one's tough.
That's like a movie that they show to cops their first day on the job. They're like, this is what it's like. There's people like this trying to do this every day.
Welcome to Gotham, son.
And
You're
so-
in fucking Bell, Missouri.
Here it is. Here's you.
This is me searching.
You searched it, and you thought it was this guy.
For sure.
AndreasGreek. That's the username. Same username. But actually, it is this disturbed man from, I think he's disturbed.
I
dude.
don't want to
think it's-
say. I mean, yeah, he's an Orthodox Christian. He's got to be
I'm
disturbed.
willing to. Yeah.
Look, I just, in case he watches
Orthodox
this, I hope he
Christian.
knows that I
Somewhat
want him
informed.
here. I want to sit with him and talk with him.
Yeah, I mean, of course I would talk to him. Of course I would talk to him, but I don't think that I would be shy about the fact that I think he's kind of dumb, dude. You're just being led around by your dick, sir. You're watching too much 24 because you're horned up. Go jerk off. Go to a strip club and no touching. But, dude, get some, I don't know. This is just weird,
buy a
dude.
lap dance.
This is, you know what this is? This is homeschool behavior. Like,
Yes.
this is
all
totally
of this,
somebody
everything about this
who was like
is-
homeschooled.
Yes.
And
who developed their personality on like E-Bomb's World, who got to like that was, but they did it in like 2016.
Yeah,
they
dude.
found it super, dude. That was when
This
I was like,
is-
dude, that's when I was like the smoking gun, dude.
yeah,
The smoking gun. I was
just
like,
the clock, the
dude,
digital
that's-
interface of
that's on
24.
that's on your grid, dude.
That's
Oh
how you
my
know you had
God.
found your man.
That was
Darla
it.
was right,
Dude,
dude.
I showed it to Darla, and we were both like jaw dropped. Oh my god,
That's
it was
him.
Amazing.
Let's see. That's the guy we don't think it is. Cobra Kai, dude.
That's when I was
do you
like,
say
yeah, dude,
about
this is a
Cobra
guy
Kai?
who rates movies. That's yeah.
Spent the whole day watching season 3 of Cobra Kai series, and it was about as amazing as I was hoping. God, dude.
IMDb people are off
Yeesh.
a fucking leash. As a letterbox user, IMDb people are a whole different breed.
Yeah, I was just like trying to gain evidence here. This
dude.
is Exhibit A.
He was
Exhibit
Lemmy,
B.
and he played rock and roll. This
Yeah.
guy, he loves AC/DC.
Yeah,
right?
And then
Is it AC/DC or?
Lemmy is not Ace of
Oh,
Base.
dude,
Motorhead.
Motorhead.
But then
Yeah.
you've got Chevy. I was like, oh, the National Lampoons. That's a perfect sign of somebody who,
Yeah.
this is this guy.
Yeah.
This is 100% this guy.
It's
It
like
couldn't
not
be-
like a lot of these things, like if like by themselves aren't necessarily make somebody like a moron,
Yes.
but it's the convergence of all these different things
Yes.
into a man who's been maintaining a decades-long celebrity hot list.
Yes. That's also
That is crazy.
It's
Yeah.
also pretty good. I just have to keep saying that the list is not bad.
no.
He's got some deep cuts. He's got some old classics, and he's got some new hits.
who's the like person on the list that you agree with the most?
He had Eva Mendes at like 17, and I was like, dude, that's actually, I mean, I could even put her higher, but it's good that Eva Mendes is still getting respect.
Yeah, at least from some of the worst people on the internet.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. I was hoping that it was like, I imagine there's got to be like a group of people who are like updating themselves. They're like, he updated the list. Go check it. And then
Dude.
people are pissed. They're like,
Like a
you got Ariana
subreddit?
Grande at number 3? Yeah, dude, they're talking about it. They're like, this guy's losing. We should,
Yeah.
maybe that's what we do.
Yeah, we need to find the message board of the
That's-
reactions to this.
Yeah.
He only updated it 4 months ago. So
Was there a comments section? Were there
Oh.
comments on there?
I don't know. I don't know if there were. But, dude, something that
dude.
Darla pointed out.
Brett, see if you can go find this, like some comments on there.
Okay,
It's
what's the
IMDb.
dude's? What
Go to IMDb.
I'll read you the exact title of the article.
okay, give me it.
It is 200 plus hot female
Oh,
celebrities
good God.
by AndreasGreek. AndreasGreek, all one word. AndreasGreek.
My list of hottest. Now the other one is he has 2 lists. This one, millions of views. The other one, top 16 hottest Survivor contestants. Female contestants specifically.
Dude.
So then I read that one and I was like,
That's
Darla and I were both like,
interesting.
bad list.
He's like, Jerry,
Dude.
number one, Jerry.
The first chick, the number
whoa,
one
dude.
girl is the one that has half an arm. You remember her from Australia? She's like cut off at the nub.
Oh, I probably would remember if I saw her.
Was that
but-
second season?
Yeah. And I was like, dude, that's your number one? You're okay, maybe it's like you're given like a
Oh,
whatever. And
he's
then-
Orthodox Christian, but he's a progressive Orthodox Christian.
But she's also not it's not about the arm. It's like she's not like a gorgeous bombshell woman with half an arm. It's like she's kind of
just
a
a plain
weird-
lady with half an arm.
a pretty mid, maybe below, I think that she's got a good heart.
I hate that
she's-
we're falling into his trap of being like,
I came
who's
here,
hot
I
and
came
who's
here
not.
only to fall into this trap.
He's going to be in the comments for you, Steven.
Dude, this was me and Darla all last night being
Dude.
like,
Did you find the article? Are there any comments on there?
Brett immediately
I
gave
was
up.
just looking the list
Brett
and I was just like,
immediately-
I don't know. I know like half
We
of
started
these
talking
people.
about hot women, and then he was like, what's going on? Is there hot women coming here? Dude, so the 16 celebrity, I was like, dude, this is a terrible list. This is dog shit. That one, yeah.
There it
But
is.
it's modified November 13th. He stopped.
2016.
It wasn't getting enough love, and he was like, I can
Yeah.
only keep up with one. This list is his passion project.
He's like
200 plus hot female
The
celebrities.
hottest
is-
Survivor female contestants is distracting me from the 200 plus hot female celebrities list.
See, like, look, this woman, she's great. She's kind. She's nice. But, like, the number one is...
This list is overwhelming, is what I like. That's why I couldn't find anything earlier.
Yeah,
and I went to
it's
the bottom.
okay, dude. Yeah,
I don't
'cause you're
think
just
there's,
getting
like, a-
too horned up over there, dude.
Not
It's a pretty good
The table
list.
Brett's sitting at is raising off of the ground right now because of the 200 plus hot female
Dude,
celebrities.
You know how our buddy Evan can quote any Pokemon
Yeah,
from
yeah.
1,000 plus?
Brett's like,
whatever.
give me 1 to 200 plus.
Yeah, dude. Brett, give me 23. What's number 23?
23 is Rachel Nicholas. What's she known for? G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra, 2009.
All right, dude. Hold on. You got to read us the top 10. You got to read us the
All right.
top
Dude,
10
no,
list.
it's kind of crazy. The top 10 are... Oh, man.
That's why we want, though. This guy is
Alicia
like...
Cuthbert is number one. We
Yeah.
know.
Okay. Let's start at number 10 though. Jennifer Love Hewitt, which is just like fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jennifer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lopez. Okay. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would
is-
expect to find that on a lot of 200 plus hot female celebrity
Yes.
lists.
So 9 was J-Lo. 8 is Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez hotter than J-Lo.
Kind of interesting. Does he really like...
I think that there's plenty of argument to be made there. I it's just like I feel like for me, when we get into these lists, and my big problem with it is like they're celebrities. They're all there because they're hot.
Yes.
And so it becomes like we're splitting hairs here, guys. Like it's like you've spent a decade splitting hairs.
Right. Yes.
And that's mental illness. Like that is
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
a mental illness.
Wait
dude.
until you just hear the rest of the list. Okay.
I just want to. I want to go on record. I just want to go on record. I think the more interesting thing about the list is wondering, does he like Made in Manhattan less than he likes Only Murders in the Building?
When-
I'm wondering if it's because of the show.
when
the
I
women.
when I look at the list, like I'm just like, what is his rating? Like, how does he tally that? Like, there's obviously such a skew and such a bias.
You're trying to get into the mind of this guy.
and it doesn't make any sense. So
Yeah.
so
'Cause you're not
so here's
homeschooled.
number 7.
Yeah.
Beyonce.
Beyonce.
That's okay. Great.
Yeah. I feel
Until
like
you see
higher
the-
than number 7 is probably. I feel like putting Beyonce at number 7 is betraying something that this guy feels about black people.
With
probably.
Alicia Cuthbert number one.
Yeah.
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 Well, dude, his number 3 is wild.
Okay, but
Dude, I know a few. I have hard opinions.
200 plus hot female celebrities. Number 3 is wild.
You'll never believe number 7.
Okay, what's number 6? Go
number
ahead.
6 is Scarlett Johansson.
All of these are great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hotter
it's
than
fine.
Beyonce, though.
That's
It's like
crazy. That's
I
kinda
think it's
wild.
kind of wild personally, but
Sure.
again, splitting hairs. This is a matter
Subjective
of
opinion.
Okay. Number
It's like comedy. It's subjective, dude.
Number-
Some people like Kill Tony, and some people like Beyonce.
Tony Hinchcliffe is number 2.
has Tony Hinchcliffe even been like? Because like also the credits of these people is just like, wait till you see number 4, reality. Like,
Okay. All right.
So 5 is Jessica Alba.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
She is obviously known for her work in Fantastic Four 2005.
Sure.
That's what we know her
Yeah,
from.
yeah. I know her from Employee of the Month
I do too.
with Dane
And
Cook.
Jessica Simpson.
with Mr. Dane Cook.
And
Right? Was she an Employee of the Month? Or
Was-
no, it
no,
was
Dax
that
Shepard?
was Good Luck Chuck that she was in with Dane Cook.
Yes. It was
Excuse
Jessica
me.
Simpson.
What an
I-
era.
Dane Cook, I apologize. Didn't mean to get your movies mixed up, bro.
He'll
Okay.
come after you for that too.
Number 4, Esther Exposito.
Don't know.
Exactly. She
Hey, look, he's got deep cuts. That's what
What's
I'm saying.
she
man.
in?
He's like
She's-
he's passionate about it.
she was in.
It's like some of us describing stand-up specials. It's
Yeah.
dude, you're not going to know this person, but I'm telling you, it's good.
Dude, you know what's so funny is like I've watched so few stand-up specials since I started doing stand-up
Sure,
comedy
yeah.
that it's like
I couldn't.
I would actually probably have an easier time making a 200 plus hot female celebrities list than I would like a top 20 stand-up specials for the last 10 years. That's what this guy. I don't know. There's a lot of this guy that I feel like I understand, but there's a lot that I don't. I would love to like follow him around for a day,
That's kinda-
just like
yeah.
a regular day in his life, and see like what is he looking at? What's he doing?
How many women he catcalls?
Yeah, yeah. That's a good point.
And then he's like, "What? I'm not doing. I thought you liked it.
Don't you want to be on my list?
Okay, who's number 3?
Number 3 is Ariana Grande.
I think that's wild.
Okay.
I think that's.
Okay.
I think that's like.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
I
a
think that one of the
crazy-
things that a lot of people
And he doesn't have
find
Wicked as number 1 either.
attractive about Ariana Grande is that she clearly doesn't like poor people very much, and I think a lot of people like that about her. Like, have you ever seen her at the donut shop?
Oh, yeah,
where she's
that's
like,
funny.
"This is disgusting." Or she's like, I don't know.
She, like,
I
licks
get the
the
sense
donut,
that
yeah.
she's not like, which, you know, to each their own. Hey, look, this is the United States of America. We got a long history
Right.
of not liking poor people. I don't think that it's Ariana Grande's fault that she feels that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's more of a societal thing, but
She watches
I think
the
that people
media.
do like that about her
I-
subconsciously.
I
is
think
what I'm
the
saying.
appealing thing about Ariana Grande is that she seems to be into trashy men, and so
Yeah.
then dorks are like, "Oh, that might be the one person I've got
Yeah.
a shot with."
They're like,
you know?
she just like makes sensible decisions.
Yeah, like Mac Miller is like, yeah, I mean, a great artist and really funny, but you look at that guy and you're like, well, I don't know that I would want him to date my daughter. And, like, that's a lot
Yeah.
of the dude. Like, there's no way I would see that man, metalhead,
Yeah.
Orthodox Christian,
Yeah.
being like, oh yeah, man. he's-
Not to mention Greek. Not to mention the fact that he's Greek.
Yep, you're not gonna believe it. This man, dude, what and to not look Greek at all, really looks Irish.
No, he looks Greek, dude.
You could see.
You
it.
just got to know
You
what
could
to look
tell.
for.
Yeah. I think every Greek looks like Stavros. I think every Greek is
No,
just
dude.
fat and bald.
So-
This man's balding. He's actually that bandana.
That's why he's got a bandana on.
Dude, the bandana's
hiding
a
his
clear
hairline.
sign. I almost started wearing a bandana, and then I was like, maybe I'll just.
Okay,
Yeah.
Brett Michaels.
I really, yeah, dude, it was a problem. Kaylee was like, I just want to say yes, chef to you.
Well, this was awesome, dude. This is great. I want to. I got something to show you. Actually,
Oh, please.
Before
Thank you for
we,
allowing me to do this.
yeah, no, this is great. I love it, and that's gonna be the whole beginning of the podcast. So.
Nice. I didn't know we even started, but I had a feeling we
But
did.
dude, I got to show you a clip that I could not stop laughing at. This is sort of completely unrelated to what we're going to actually be digging into today, but this was so funny and I wanted to play it on the podcast immediately. So this is just to give a little bit of like explanation at the beginning cuz the audio is a little rough on this. But this is a cop body cam footage of a cop showing up to a movie theater, and the manager of the theater is like, "Hey, we want to trespass these 2 older white ladies. They were saying a bunch of racist stuff to everybody in the movie theater, and we want them to be trespassed and not allowed back." And then the subsequent video is this cop's interaction with these old middle-aged white ladies. So just to explain the beginning, because it's kind of tough to hear the manager.
Okay.
Here it is.
I would like them trespassed.
Okay.
They said some racist remarks to the whole theater. I don't want them to come back.
Okay, sounds good. You have your IDs on you, man? So what the manager asked me to do is to give you guys a trespass warning. Basically, nothing criminal. It's just saying that you guys understand that you guys can't come back here. Okay?
No, it's not okay, sir. We're both
Listen, you don't have a say. This business can do whatever they want. Okay?
We're innocent until proven guilty. That's the country I live in.
I never charge you with a
Tell me I
crime.
can't come back.
That's correct. You're being
Well, he
trespassed.
owes us a refund for the movie.
Okay.
If we put
That is up to the manager. I can't force him to do the refund and whatever. You'll have to sue him. It's all civil. Nothing criminal there.
You don't need these.
Don't snatch.
Don't you?
She snatched the IDs out of the snatch.
Brutality!
Let go of the ID.
Police brutality!
You're gonna
Let go of me!
You're gonna go to jail for.
Oh, come on, cop! Put your knee on
Dude.
her neck.
Yeah,
Come on.
she snatches the IDs back from this guy's hand, and then he goes and says, "Don't, you can't do that." And he grabs her wrist and starts taking the IDs back, and she's screaming, "Police brutality! Police brutality!" And I don't know, dude. I just was really satisfied by that. I watched it probably like 10 times back to back. I was laughing so fucking hard.
It's really hard to make a cop into an empathetic person.
Yeah.
That you're like kind of rude.
Yeah.
There's nothing that does that more than putting them against a Karen.
Yes.
Putting them against a racist Karen is like, oh, my
Precisely.
2 arch nemesis.
Yeah, and
This is
dude,
Godzilla versus King Kong.
Who you betting on? Karen, 100%.
the movie theater manager was just like so like
Over it.
He was so done. You could tell whatever these ladies did was clearly
so
inappropriate, and it was so inappropriate that they were worried that they were going to get charged with a crime.
Yes.
Because they're fucking idiots, and they legitimately believe that people like just being sort of publicly racist, people get charged with crimes for that. And it's like, no, dude, they don't. That's why people do it. You know what I mean? That's why people keep doing it, is because they don't get charged with crimes. You're just told you can't go back to the movie theater anymore. And it's like this like false victimhood thing that they are like just now realize, like they clearly don't even realize it's like fake, dude. You can't. The guy literally starts the interaction by being like, yeah, so like you guys aren't being charged with anything. It's just you have to leave and not come back. And they're like, we're innocent until proven guilty. He's like, nobody's accusing you of anything. They're just telling you to leave and not come back. Like, that's it.
We want our money back. We're gonna we demand you go into their cash register and pull out our money and give it to us. It's so funny how much people think they know the law.
Yeah, well, and it's also hilarious watching them learn in real time that the police actually are there to protect this business and not them.
Right.
Like, it's not about you having they're there because a business called them. Like, that's, people will complain. They'll be like, the police will never show up when something goes wrong in my house. But like, if a business is like, hey, there's this people causing problems for our business, they'll always be there. They'll
Right.
always show up. I don't know. I hate these ladies, and I hope that they did get arrested. That's what I hope. I feel weird about that.
I'm sad that the body cam cuts off. I want to watch the run through. I want to watch them give it back and just be like, all right, get out of it. I just want to watch them waddle out of the movie theater.
It's
very slow.
the failure of YouTube Shorts. Is that we don't get to see the longs.
They're letting you do 3 minutes, but I don't think that it's
3
too
minutes
long.
isn't enough.
3 minutes isn't enough sometime when I want to see these ladies chucked into the back of a fucking cop car and read their rights.
It sucks when you're trying to watch The Godfather when they pan and scan it for TikTok and you're trying to find part 17 after you watch part 16.
Oh,
I hate when that happens. How cinema should have been formatted.
9:16 or whatever.
You got it, Steven.
Well, dude, I'm not sure how related. Well, you know what is related to what we're going to talk about today specifically is the idea of that Greek guy being homeschooled.
Oh, nice.
Because so we're at a pretty terrible point in this country. I think a lot of people who listen to this podcast will recognize this because, dude, and you know what? I don't want it to be like this.
What do you mean?
I don't want it to be like this, dude, but we're at a point in time where a podcast called Jakin.Off has to be the voice of reason. That's pretty fucked up, dude. I want to be watching videos of ladies getting arrested by the police and laughing at them.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I don't want to have to do a bunch of research and explain how the world works to people on my comedy podcast, but nobody else is doing it. Nobody else is doing it. Nobody else seems to want to do it, so I guess that's what we got to jake off to. I guess that's what the nation has to jake off to now, and today we're going to talk about something that I think doesn't get a lot of play. It's not going to be something that you hear the mainstream media talk about too much, dude. The lamestream media.
Sure, yeah.
But ultimately, I think that it's at the root of a lot of what we got going on today, dude. Today we're going to talk about federalism, specifically as it relates to evangelical Christians and segregation and the place that we find ourselves now, homeschooling, the homeschooling movement, all this stuff, right? So we're gonna dive in to some clips in a little bit, but first we're gonna talk about what federalism is. Steven, you know what it is, I'm sure.
Yes.
You have an idea, but my listeners, the people who listen to this, they're just gooning. They're at home gooning off. They don't know anything, so I got to explain it to them. Federalism is like it's the foundation of America, like the Constitution. All that shit. They tried an even worse version of it first, the Articles of Confederation. Tanked. They were like, this is not good.
Everybody was
it's
mean
not
to
working.
it. Everybody was mean. It was very
nobody
not enjoyed by a lot. They couldn't tax people. That's so funny. Dude.
It was
every state has its own currency.
It was bad.
Amazing.
It was bad.
You're not going to believe it couldn't work. No president either.
Yeah.
Not bad.
No president.
Not bad. Could have been a pretty good idea looking back.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. But they, after the Articles of Confederation like totally fucked up, they were like, all right, we got to figure out a way to do a centralized federal government, but in a way that appeases people who own slaves. Is like literally the basis for that. So federalism is like the government divides power between the federal government, a centralized institution, and state governments, right? So like state governments and federal governments, like there's overlap and there's like clearly defined areas of authority for each one. One example would be states have the right to run elections how they want to, which we'll talk about in a minute. But it's really foundational to the way that this country was founded, and the reason why it was so important back in the day, back when they were crafting the Constitution, is because it provides a sort of cover for people who were from colonies that didn't have a large population, because they mostly were plantation states that were profiting off of enslavement of people. Like that's what it was. And they knew that if they didn't have a way to protect their interests in like fucking ingrained into the system, then these guys wouldn't sign on. So they did things like the 3/5 compromise, and they did things like the Senate, and they did things, and they did things like the Electoral College. And the way that they framed it, and what a lot of these guys wrote about at the time, is that they were protecting people from the tyranny of majority, which is like another word for democracy. That's just like another way to say we're protecting people from themselves,
right,
and being able to vote for the things. And they didn't have the word for it at the time, but the thing that they were worried about was that if everybody could vote, then they would vote to take a lot of their money and wealth away and redistribute it. And so they were scared of socialism, but they didn't have the word socialism yet, but that's what they were worried about.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they were worried about, like the threat that democracy would pose to like white supremacy, stuff like that. And really the ultimate result of this was that it ends up providing political cover throughout American history to like the most oppressive people, like, right? Like the argument of states' rights is like foundational to the Civil War. Eventually it morphed into like parents' rights, things that we're going to get into now. Why all these guys are like taking over the school boards and stuff like that. But I think that the problem is that we are so we're taught such a limited view of the founding of this country and what it's actually about, that people, even people that aren't fundamentalist Christians or members of the KKK, view federalism as an important protection for people against having their rights infringed upon by the federal government.
Right.
People inherently, like even people who are quote unquote liberal, are inherently still fearful of the tyranny of majority that some of the founding fathers were talking about and why they set it up this way.
Right.
But they don't realize it and they don't think of it that way, because we're taught that the states are given power because it gives more power to people. But that's not how they thought of it. They thought of it as the states get more power because they're the states.
Yeah.
And not the people in those states. Most of the people in these states couldn't vote.
Right.
And still to this day, the Electoral College in a handful of states, they don't have to go by the popular vote in that state. If the people of a state, I think Missouri might be one of them. If the people of Missouri, for instance, voted for Kamala Harris in the 2024 election, the state legislature could decide, we don't like that.
Yeah,
we actually are going to vote for Donald Trump, because it was never about like ensuring protection for like, you know, people who might have like a minority political opinion. The people who have a minority political opinion are rich slave owners.
It's not
at
about
that time.
It's not about a political opinion. It's about a business interest.
Yes.
So like when people are like, "Oh, we're watching an oligarchy happen now," it's like, no, you've watched an oligarchy happen since the founding of this country. It was not for the people that could vote in Missouri.
Yes.
It was for the wealthy business owners in Missouri.
Precisely.
And they're the ones who have funded every president since.
Yeah, dude.
Every president. It's like pretty much every single president.
Well, most of the presidents at the beginning of this country were not voted on by the people of the country. They were voted on by the state legislatures in these colonies that had confederated together. It's people don't, they think that it is a mechanism to give more influence to individual people. Oh, you go and vote. And the only way that it is like that is because we've rolled back in certain states. Federalism has been, they've taken a bite out of it, right? Like now you have certain states that are signing on to the idea that they will, in their state constitution, put it that their electoral college votes will go towards whoever wins the national popular vote. And there's a big sort of debate about the crisis that it could potentially cause in the future when enough of the electoral votes in these states sign on to this. Then there will be a bunch of people who have a huge interest in protecting things like the Electoral College in the Senate. That will be it's going to cause a crisis because their entire power structure will be rendered void, because now you have a majority of states that are on board with a popular vote for the presidential election. And so it's like a way of sort of skirting around repealing the entire Electoral College. But it's the reason why they're scared is because they don't want it to be like that. Like, they don't want the popular vote to dictate who runs the country.
Because voter turnout is the worst thing for most politicians, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
the
Democrat
only time,
and Republican.
The only time, and this is the interesting thing about Trump, is that the only time you see massive voter turnout is when you have a politician that is truly for the people, in the sense that like the people in mass, regardless of affiliation, support this person. Like you saw kind of record turnout in Democratic primaries with Bernie. And then you had a lot of Bernie supporters move to Trump because it was just somebody who was bucking the system.
Right.
But like that's why you see incredible voter turnout. And the reason that like last year was so big is not because people loved Kamala Harris. It's because Trump is so polarizing that he like, you know, had a record turnout of his voters come out, and you had a lot of people who wanted to oppose that. But you have like, there's been an oligarchy forever. Louisiana's hilarious because Louisiana is like only the rich, and then the ones who aren't rich who like come into power are always like these fucking corrupt populist like Huey P. Long or Edwin Edwards. They just like they're communists. Like and it's the only way to seed against that system is to be like, we're all going to work together. And then what happens is you do that, and then the government, the oligarchy is like, we got to fucking kill this person. We got to this person can't live anymore. Like the more MLK got outspoken against like dude, here's what's funny. We were doing that show in Raytown at this thrift store, Gnarly Hustle. It rules, and they have a bunch of Playboys. And so I was reading through the Playboys just kind of as a bit, you know, and also just kind of being like, well, it's been a while. Hello, old friend.
Taking pictures of them.
Yeah, dude. And then I'm like halfway through, and there's a full spread, and it's this incredible drawing, but it's, you look at it, it's colorful, and then it's Martin Luther King assassination. It's like just in the Playboy, and you're like, whoa. And
ubiquitous, dude.
You're reading the whole article, and it's like, oh, dude, Playboy. It's like in the 70s. It's like a 10-year kind of thing. And Playboy's kind of like on it. Playboy's like,
you were reading it for the articles, dude.
Dude, I started to. I finally got it.
They hired some amazing illustrators and other people. Like them and Mad Magazine were kind of paving the way, and like especially like short stories and things like that. Like back in the day, they had nudies and shit too, but they actually had good ass stories.
Well, they still mostly it was about the nudies.
Yeah. That was the big. Yeah, but if you're gonna hang around, you're gonna. They didn't have TikTok to scroll. You know, you come in for that was your original algorithm.
People had better attention spans.
That was your Instagram search bar thing. You'd be like tits. Oh, what's this about the Congo? Sure, I'll check that out for a little bit, but then tits again. Oh, you're jumping. This girl's jumping.
Well, dude, it's funny that you bring up Playboy and Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination.
What is this podcast, dude?
Because that all is encompassed into the kind of stuff that these people hate, right? So So the point is about federalism, before we move on, is that it was created to provide political cover for some really awful people, and then because that's what it was created for, it has continued to do that all throughout the history of this country. The Civil War, states' rights. Now we're getting into this realm of like sort of like fascist like ideology becoming more mainstream, and it's providing political cover for that. We're going to play some clips later that are from years ago that are going to sound so familiar, and they're from years ago from people who are like the worst. Like one of them is a grand wizard of the KKK, and you're going to listen to it and you're going to be like, I hear this all the time now.
Yes.
And that's what is at the root of this. That's why it feels so inescapable, is because it's foundational to like the country that we live in.
Yes, I do think my only problem with calling what we're seeing as fascism is that it's too broad.
Yeah.
I think that like it's either Christian fascism or Christian nationalism. That conversation I just had with my dad where I was like, there's no way you're socially conservative, right? Like we've got gay family members, we've got like a pretty diverse family, and your wife is from El Salvador, and you know a lot of undocumented immigrants, and you know my history. And he was like, I'm pretty on board with everything that I think that this is a Christian country. And I was like, well, why didn't they write the word Christ down once? Why wouldn't they? You would think that's like the foundation of that. There's no Jesus, there's no Christ, there's no Nothing. And he was like, yeah, no, I still think we are. And it's like, okay, when I heard that, I was like, God damn, it's everybody. You know, it's propaganda's a hell of a drug. And he's not a Christian guy. He's not like, I was like, Dad, you got divorced. What do you don't think you should be allowed to get divorced? And he's like, well, that doesn't happen that often. And I was like, you've heard yourself. You can hear yourself. And that is like, I think it is Christian fascism. Yeah. It's Christian nationalism. And it needs to be addressed as such because it's, I mean, yes, it also is white Christian nationalism. That is a big piece of it. But I think giving it a label is important right now. Yeah, and I think that that's kind of like what I spend a lot of my time on these days is trying to understand and wrap my head around, you know, not just like what transpired that got us here, but like the underpinning sort of like ideologies that are fundamental to its continued existence. Well, I think like that's what I think is important to think about as well. Yeah, because the idea that history is repeating itself is true, but I think that gets lost on the fact that what you're about to show, I imagine, because I think I think I know what you're getting into. Is these things, it's not history repeating itself, it's history building on itself and not being quelled. So like you try and quell the states by being like, well, you can come be a part of this federal government, and then you quell the states by being like, hey, you can have slavery if you just shut the fuck up about it. And then you have to like tamp them down. But then after that, you're like, okay, you can have Jim Crow. Okay, you can have segregation. It's this history of compromise that leads to federalism, right? That leads to all of these things. And then you go, we're going to tolerate these beliefs as a part of our greater system because we think it benefits us economically. And that's all that really has ever mattered. And then it leads to, you know, I mean, Louisiana, you couldn't vote if you were black until they got rid of the literacy test in 64. Have you ever seen that test? Dude, yeah. No, it's the insane. Louisiana literacy test, amazing. Maybe one of the greatest pieces of history in the country to understand how fucked up everything was. Brett to pull that up. Have you ever seen it? I've seen it, but I would love to put it out there again, dude. I love it.
I'm pulling up a PDF from the Jim Crow Museum. Does that sound about right?
1964, is that it? State Louisiana literacy test.
Oh my god,
dude! They didn't desegregate Louisiana until the 70s.
Dude, I was gonna say another state that I know about is Oregon. Yeah, the state of Oregon was founded as a lot of the founders of Oregon were KKK guys who were like, we're gonna build a white utopia in Oregon, and it was in their state constitution until I think 1979. Dude, that black people couldn't own property in Oregon. Like that kind of shit. But it's baked in. Like they can do that because, and to your point of history building on itself, the exact sort of crux of what we're gonna get to today is why this will never cease to end.
I'm glad that we're having this
why it will never cease to stop doing, we'll never cease to stop fighting these same sorts of battles over and over and over again. Yeah, we can't have a reckoning about it because people don't even understand the actual root causes
where it started
of why people are allowed to indoctrinate their children or why people are allowed to advocate for segregation in schools. The KKK hasn't gone away. Dude, they haven't been defeated.
There's never been a repentance because there's never been an addressing of what actually happened.
We have no national truth.
Because we don't have a shared history. Yeah. And I think I was just talking about, there was this book that I read that really changed my life called Fire and a Canebrake. And it's talking about the last mass lynching in America that happened in 46. Yeah. 1946.
Very recently.
And her big conclusion is if we don't have a shared history, we'll never have retribution. And then you learn about 40 Acres and a Mule and where that idea, the Andrew Johnson from Abraham Lincoln is a thing I think is nobody really knows the history behind, because Andrew Johnson's from Tennessee and Lincoln's from Illinois, and there is your rub. It's you're not going to fuck over your family members. Yeah. You're not going to fuck over your friends in Tennessee. Right. So you get rid of this Freedmen's Bureau where you're going to give slaves health care or whatever. And that is continually what you see is the KKK is not a dormant thing. It is an active, and it's not just a hate group. Yeah. They're not just it is a community It is like it is legitimately a fraternity.
Yeah.
And it is not like, oh, they just sit around going, God, we hate them.
It's a social organization.
It is a culture
Yeah.
that is like prevalent.
It's a way of socially organizing people to achieve specific goals.
Yes. Have I told you about my great-grandfather?
No.
Dude, I hope you don't have enough listeners for this to be a problem for me in the future. But my mom was like, hey, I think you want to see this. And it was love letters from my great-grandmother to my great-grandfather. And they're beautiful. And then my great-grandfather to my great-grandmother. And it starts out beautiful. It's this very poetic thing. And then it's all right, P.S., darling, me and all the boys at the Klan are doing well. We'll see you in about 2 weeks. And I was like, whoa, what? And then dude, that's resonated with me for a while. But he was from North Florida. I thought it was my family in Arkansas, which I can't find anything, because after you find out one member's in the Klan, you're like, well, now I got to see who else this is a part of. And the thing in 1946, that book that I read, was about these sheriffs outside of Atlanta who are in the Klan who are a part of this. And so now I'm like, well, I need to find out, did my family ever take place in anything? Can I help discover something? Yeah. But it never, it doesn't leave my head how fucking casual he said it. How casual it was, like, all the boys in the Klan are we're on our little retreat is what it seemed like it was. It was like, we're hanging out for a weekend. We're going fishing. Right. Like it wasn't like, we got us another one. It was like, no, we had Darla made a good batch of chocolate chip cookies, and we've had a real grand old time down here. And it was like, that's only 2 generations.
And I think that also speaks to something that people fundamentally misunderstand about an organization like the Ku Klux Klan, is that their goal has never been and never was, we're going to get everybody in America to be a part of the Ku Klux Klan. Right. Their goal was, we are going to get our ideas and our goals and the things that we want. We want those to be brought in from the margins, and made a part of what is acceptable to say in the mainstream, like, political discourse. It was never, the goal is never that we want, obviously higher membership means a bigger reach, but like, none of these people, like, and it was the same way with like the Nazis in Nazi Germany. Like, the idea isn't that like everybody is always going to be a Nazi forever, or everybody's going to be a member of the KKK. The idea is, if they can organize enough, they can get these policies and these things into law and into government and into positions of power, so that they can impose them on other people.
They don't exist just as a terrorist group, though that is what they engaged in from the early 1900s on. They didn't exist just as a terrorist group. They started using terrorism as a means to achieve policy goals and to scare people into winning. And it's like, they're just committing jihad in the name of white Protestantism. Like, that's all they're doing. They're just Hamas. They're just the Taliban. And you're not going to believe it, the Taliban has a whole fucking country. Okay? They they have ownership of a country, and like the KKK wants to do that. And like Mike Johnson is somebody who, like, he went to my church, which is a Christian nationalist church. Like, I worked with Mike Johnson. This man is a Christian nationalist, and the reason that they support Israel is because they think that Revelation tells them they have to.
it's going to bring on the apocalypse.
Like, that is all that they are, and they really believe it. I mean, yes, they have monetary interest and they benefit their family, but truly in their heart, they're
deep
fucking
down,
stupid.
If you told them,
they're so stupid, dude.
If you
they're
told
so
them
dumb.
that if you told Mike Johnson, hey, look, if we let Israel annex Gaza and the West Bank, it will trigger the apocalypse, he would be like,
immediately,
that's exactly what I've always wanted to do.
I wanted to be the one who ushered it in. I'd love to see the face of Jesus again. That is who that man is. And like, again, we have tolerated it for so long that it is in the mainstream. Like, they have succeeded in white Protestantism. Now what's a crazy thing is, I had never met a Catholic until I went to college, which, like, if you think about the foundation of this country, is like pretty wild, to know that like Protestantism has a dominance over areas of the country where, you know, Catholics are like, if you go to South Louisiana, there's a ton of Catholics and a ton of Protestants, but you go to North Louisiana, it's all Baptist, Methodist, you know, Assembly of God. Like, it's, I don't know, man. It's an interesting thing.
They've evangelized effectively.
Yeah, and it's because they've been allowed, and they've been not just allowed, they've been empowered. You know, because of federalism, they have the power. Because of Southern Baptists, like the Southern Baptist community is actually a very small community in the grand scale of the United States, but they carry an immense amounts of power because they have a ton of wealth. Because they live in states that are deregulated. They're the only ones who want to live here because they've got family that have been here for years. Why do you think their family's been here for years? I don't know. Maybe they had slaves.
Why would they
Maybe
leave?
They were part of the Klan. Everything's going well.
They have
for
everything
them.
they want.
Oh, why did everybody else leave? Well, because they were black and terrified of what the fuck was going to happen to them. Like, yeah, dude, when you start to actually realize what history is, you're like, oh, okay. This all makes way more sense. And these things are fucked up. I used to be too deep in it. And then I started reading books.
And dude, and you know what
that weren't written by Glenn Beck.
Is that it's taken a comedy podcast called Jakin.Off
to change the world.
To fucking pull the wool back from everybody's eyes. And to show them that they've been hoodwinked.
Here's the biscuit.
Yeah. Brett, you were going to say something?
It's that perspective of whose history is whose type of thing.
That is the idea that you don't have a shared history. Like the thing that I always come back to that I think is really interesting. I think everybody like commonly agrees on one thing. I did this show in Bell, Missouri for a bunch of rednecks, and they were talking to me after, and they're like, "Man, you were saying some stuff up there." And, you know, we were just like engaging in this discourse that was actually really fun. Yeah. And you know what you always get when you're talking to people of any, you know, wherever on the spectrum is. We think that we don't have enough power and that billionaires have too much power, and we wish that was changed. Like that is a universal thing that everybody can agree on. And you're like, okay, let's talk about that a little bit more. How can we engage in this? And then you talk about, like, I think history is kind of the same thing, where it's like there are moments where we could all connect on the same thing, but we get too wrapped up. Our zone is too flooded that we're just like, hey, let's just talk for a second. Rodney King. Yeah. Can we all like point to this moment? Can you see that it was bad? Can you see that it's a pattern? And you have a lot of people who like, it was so politicized in the moment. You had these LA riots. You had OJ was, you know, right after it, I think. Like it was all like, no, OJ was right before Rodney King.
Yeah.
But it's so. Like they don't, even that, which is so clearly a huge fucking miscarriage of justice is not something that everybody agrees on. And if you can't agree on that, then you'll never get to a thing that you actually, you know, there's no way to move forward. If you can't agree that Rodney King was fucked up, there's video. It's the first piece of video evidence that you see of just outright police brutality and nobody faced anything for it. Is like, okay, well, then there's nothing that we can do there. It's gonna take like something. So I don't think it's gonna take a civil war. I think it will take a violent. It's gonna take
a horrific act.
It's
honestly.
But that's, I mean, like even that, like Oklahoma City, you know, the Oklahoma City bombing is like it's a horrific act.
I'm kind of the opinion that like I don't think that there's I don't think that there's anything that can sort of like rip us out of this continuous sort of battle that we seemingly will, you know, fight in perpetuity until either this country sort of like dissolves and ceases to exist in the same form that it does, or until something like that happens that is so sort of terrifying and maybe you know, affects people in such a way that the bedrock of American society is like changed in some fundamental way. And at that point it's like I think that we're even more likely to slip into something far worse than something better. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like that's sort of my my take on that aspect of it. But we do need to talk about we got to go into
what we're actually gonna
move on to, which is related to everything that we're talking about, because eventually people who believed in segregation lost. Like that's the sort of like they lost at least the mainstream battle, because in the 1970s, after the Civil Rights Act was passed and the Voting Rights Act and all these things, they sort of turned the government turned their eye to private Christian schools that had skirted desegregation by just basically opening up all these private schools. They called them segregation academies.
Yep.
So that their white children could still go to white schools and not have to be integrated with black students. In the 70s, the IRS basically began targeting them and being like, hey, listen, you can't be tax exempt and discriminate against people. You can't do it. So either you're going to lose your tax exempt status, or you're going to allow black students into your school. Those were the two options. And prior to this, like, there was not a very coherent organized like evangelical Christian fundamentalist bloc. Like that didn't exist. And this guy named Paul Weyrich had been working on this since like before the Civil Rights Act, since 1964, I think specifically. He was trying to come up with all these different wedge issues: pornography, the Equal Rights Amendment, all these things that threatened Christian life and family values. This is when the term family values started becoming really ubiquitous. He couldn't get anybody to actually coherently organize around those issues. Abortion even was not an issue that was drawing all these people into one coherent block. And up until that point, the idea of the separation between church and state was still like more of a cultural presence than it's just been eroded since then, since the 1970s, really, because of the targeting of these segregation academies. So I'm going to play a brief clip that sort of explains, just really does a good job of sort of summing up what occurred and how this shit kind of got the ball rolling, really, for these guys.
Are these the ladies that cop was holding at the movie theater?
These are their moms.
Yeah.
These are their mothers. It's a generational thing. Police brutality. Here it is, though.
While abortion is often cited as the reason evangelical Christians became politically active in the 1970s,
unborn babies who, by the hundreds of...
Historian Randall Ballmer points to another important moment, one that started with a conservative political strategist named Paul Weyrich.
We will truly see a moral majority in America.
Weyrich had been trying to mobilize evangelical voters and has said on many occasions, including to me personally, he said, I tried everything to get them involved in politics. I tried the abortion issue, I tried the women's rights issue, I tried pornography. Nothing got their attention, that is the attention of evangelical leaders, until the IRS began to pursue the tax exemption of racially segregated schools.
Many of those schools were private Christian schools created as a response to integration, and some schools and colleges still barred black students or interracial dating. After courts ruled that schools that discriminate weren't entitled to tax exemptions, the IRS began to investigate.
The Internal Revenue Service proposed to make private schools prove they are not practicing racial discrimination or lose their tax-exempt status.
It was only then, according to Weyrich, that evangelicals became interested in mobilizing politically.
The schools called the IRS rules too broad and said they interfered with religious autonomy.
The Internal Revenue Service has begun hearings in Washington.
Religious and conservative.
It's really
it's so
like,
funny to be like, that's religious, is
yes.
to hate black
yes.
people.
Yes.
Like that's the Christian doctrine, is to not want black people near me. It's such an insane, when you forced these people to have this religion, and now you're like, no, but not with us. No.
Yeah, it's
Dude, it's such a crazy argument, and what's like...
It's a total mind fuck, like, that these people... And they're able to do it again and again and again because they're just reframing... It's a reframing of the same argument for Jim Crow, for slavery itself. Like, passing any legislation or doing anything that threatens our ability to, oppress people for whatever reason that we think of is actually like it's a constitutional issue.
Yes.
And it's fucking nuts, man.
This is what I hate about the Department of Education has only existed since the 1970s, and since then education has gone downhill. And it goes, well, one, why was it created? Because you wouldn't fucking integrate or follow any of the basic rules.
Yeah.
Like, that's why it gets started. And two, you integrated, and then you were like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Now we have to integrate. Well, we're going to go start our own private academy where we're going to do our own thing and take all of the money, funding, teachers, all of the power out of the public schools. So that is why since the 70s you've seen education decline, because instead of actually committing to the system, you've just tried to fight it the entire way.
And the argument that they use for shutting down the Department of Education is they say, or the reasoning that they give is that it will allow the states to dictate their education. It's the same.
Maybe the worst
thing.
idea in the world. Have you ever been to the states? Yeah. I've been to a lot of the states. I don't think that you want Arkansas dictating education. I don't think that you want Mississippi in charge of their own. I think, and also here's the crazy thing is that they are. The only thing that the federal government says is you have to have either college and readiness standards, which are they're really trying to train the kids to be ready to go to college, or you have to have MTSS, which I can't remember what it is right now, but a set of standards that are a little bit more technical and basic. Right. And as long as you have one of those two sets, then we'll give you federal funding. It's not like, hey, you have to have it's not like you have to have this exact curriculum and you have to teach that.
They're not saying
we should all have reparations. I went to school in Louisiana. They didn't even teach you that the Civil War was about slavery. They were like, there kind of was slavery, but
it was about states' rights.
Well, states' rights to interconnect trains was like their big. It was it was an autistic Civil War. It was like everybody's divided. We need to come together.
They didn't know about the spectrum back then, but if they did, they would have called us on it.
The transcontinental, they got one of them. I'm against it. Yeah, dude.
More like the anti-transcontinental.
That's where we're at now. It's so funny to see it argued as religious autonomy to be like, we hate black people.
Yes.
Like, that is all that it is. Dude, they had, and all of these schools, their mascots are the rebels. They have rebel flag memorabilia. They, it's the Claiborne Academy is in like Minden, Homer, Louisiana. It's the Claiborne Rebels. Unionville in Missouri has one. There's like it's million Missouri, of these things. There's like your college exists as a former segregation college. Like every place
Federalism
that is private, there's like an 80% chance that it is started out of this, and it didn't just disappear overnight. Like it didn't. It just is. It's a tumor, and the reason that I always think that you're going to have like some violent something is because like we've allowed this tumor to get dormant, and you're going to have to surgically remove this thing. It's gonna have to be like, we can't tolerate this anymore. And I don't think that, like, if tech companies could do the job, that's the only thing. You'd have to have good people at tech companies, but the problem is, they're making too much money to be good people. Like it's just not happening.
Different kind of evil.
And those two, they coexist. The idea of money and the propagation of like anti-blackness, those two things are hand in hand. Like they are one in the same. And so like when you see J.D. Vance get nominated as the VP, you're like, oh, I know exactly what this is for. This is uniting the evangelical whites with the Silicon Valley bros.
Dude, it's like the thing that he's been created for.
Trump Hitler,
Yeah.
and he still got the nomination, and it's only because it's about
It's
money.
so funny.
And
yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
dude,
it's not funny, but it's like crazy.
it's hilarious
Yeah.
because it's insane.
Yeah.
That like it's just been allowed, and people don't know because you would have to teach history, and then
Yeah.
that would mean that you're not just teaching dates and facts, that you're actually teaching like
Yeah.
legitimate stories that explain the context of the world today. Hey, I think one of the things that sucks about a history class is most of it is like, here's what happened in 1776. Here's what happened in 1812. Here's what happened in 1865. When really what I think it should be is like, okay, today we see Mahmoud Khalil is deported to an El Salvadorian prison that is controversial. Okay. Why is he deported? What is the Alien and Sedition Act?
Yeah.
Why was it started? What's this El Salvadorian prison about? What's the history there?
What's the connection between the past and the things that have happened in the past into what's happening now?
It's the only way to make history important or valuable. And the problem is you can't standardize that test.
Yeah.
Like what you can do is
You can only do a podcast called Jakin.Off.
That's the only thing.
It's the only way.
It's the only solution.
It's the only solution is to podcast your way out.
Yep.
We got to podcast our way out of this, guys.
Dude, when I talk about voting rights in my class is I make them, you get their opinions on stuff, and then you go, all right, we're going to do a movie today. And we can either watch a movie in class, or we can do a worksheet, and we'll vote for it. And then I make them take the voting rights test from 64, which is the cruelest thing. Dude, I do it to immigrants. I do it to kids who don't speak English.
Let's
and
pull it up.
Okay, so I pulled it up, and the first thing that it says is like there's like 30 questions on the test. If you get one wrong, you're out.
Oh, my God.
One wrong.
You fail it.
Jesus Christ, dude. Okay,
give me a
hit
second.
me with one of these questions.
It is.
Well,
it's kind of a thing.
It's
you
a
need to
visual
see.
thing.
Yeah.
So the first one is draw a line around the number. You see, line and a circle are different things. First and foremost.
No, just read the whole question.
Draw a line around the number or letter of this sentence. I mean, it's one with a bullet before that, obviously. So you're
That's
circling.
the question number 1. Repeat it again because I don't think anybody understood it or ever has.
Yeah.
Number 1. Draw a line around the number of letter of this sentence.
Draw a line around the number or letter of this sentence.
That's like it's like a trick. It's
Yes.
meant to trick you.
Yeah, and there are 30 questions, and they are all exactly.
Well, why didn't they
like
just take the test back to the person who gave it to him and say, "What is this, a trick?" would that have maybe worked? Maybe that would have fixed this whole thing, dude.
There's a beautiful video on YouTube of all the Harvard kids taking the test,
and they're just like failing.
Oh yeah, because also
it's meant to
I
make
think it
you
says
fail.
also at the top that it's a timed test. I think you have 10
minutes to complete the
go
test.
through all
Jesus
30
fucking
questions.
Christ, dude.
And dude, the Harvard kids are going, what the like they're
You get 20
they're
seconds
about
a
to snap.
question.
It looks like the Stanford prison experiment. They're
dude.
yeah, and that's the 60s, dude. That's like that's my family.
And it's so recent.
My mom.
Yeah, people are gonna be alive that experienced that,
dude,
for a while.
I worked in conservative politics. You saw Mike Johnson be like, "Oh, we're gonna have 18% voter turnout. That rules. That's great for us." Like, dude, when I worked in conservative politics, one of the things they hated the most is they were like, "These Democrats are getting their people to the polls." They're like, they're these Democrats. They're giving them van rides to the polls. They're making sure that they vote. They're making sure that they're civically active. How fucking dare these goddamn Democrats getting these black people who can't afford cars because we've made them systematically poor.
It's honestly insane what some of these people will say out loud that they believe in. This actually leads great into this clip. This is a clip of Jerry Falwell, who's like he's one of the founders of the moral majority movement. He founded Liberty University, which is like one of the most insane,
horrible
fucking places on earth. But this is a clip that they posted this to CNN 11 years ago, but it's from 1983. And this is Jerry Falwell Sr. giving his opinion on Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
I'm for it.
Well, the country's about to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. At this point, it's almost impossible to imagine that it was ever controversial to want to honor Dr. King. But in 1983, it certainly was to Jerry Falwell when
Still
he came
is,
on
Van.
Crossfire.
Why not? I don't think we need any more holidays. Why not a Martin Luther King Day?
I just feel that there are other black Americans and the corporate body of black Americans who are due honor more than one recent individual about whom there's a great question mark even to this moment.
What is the question mark?
The question mark is that so far all the records on him are sealed. And neither you, Tom, nor I really know what they're going to say.
Are you talking about his personal character,
yes,
his personal morality, and his personal life,
and he may
as well
be
as any connection?
He may be as clean as Billy Graham, but we don't know that because the records are sealed.
As clean as Billy Graham is a hilarious phrase, but what's is so striking about this to me is the thing that he has against him is that they don't want us to know about him.
Yeah.
Why don't they let us unseal the records?
Yeah, why won't the CIA unseal the records around what happened with Martin Luther King Jr.? I can't believe. I'm sure it's Martin Luther King Jr.'s estate who wants all of this information classified, and definitely not the CIA of the federal government.
They unsealed the records on Billy Graham. Billy Graham's records are unsealed.
Billy Graham, he's unassassinated. Billy Graham, he didn't get shot.
Yeah.
The thing I love about that is how is the next question not what black Americans?
Well, because it's Pat Buchanan,
right? Exactly,
is the one interviewing him, who's
Yeah.
also a notorious piece of shit. Like, right in lockstep with these guys. He's pretty much like right there with them.
I don't know, because that's the big question. Is like, all right, not Martin Luther King Jr. Then who? And if you say George Washington Carver, I get to drown you in peanut butter. I'll kill your family. Can you say that on Jakin.Off? I will.
Yeah, you can.
I will kill Jerry Falwell's family.
We might have to bleep, but whatever.
We'll just get banned in Russia. It's
fine.
Every
clap real quick so we remember where this was.
Every video,
I'm marking it.
Every video that we post these days is banned in Russia and Belarus for some reason. I don't know why.
It's usually the
because
music.
you're talking about pro-Ukraine.
Yeah, no,
it's like the music copyright for some reason. Like last time, it was like a Drake song or whatever they used.
It's probably because this is how they pronounce Jakin.Off. It's Jakin.Off. Yes, we are Jakin.Off. Yeah, I think that's it.
But yeah, dude, the point being, right, is that the reason why this problem feels so inescapable and that it's like not going away, or that we keep having to repeatedly like confront this sort of like strain of thinking, is because it's institutionalized through federalism.
Right.
Like it's what gives these people a foothold into institutional power.
It's how they're able to gerrymander. It's how they're able to manipulate. It's how they're able to, and then you give them Citizens United, and you said, well, you know what it was? They were losing the power. They were starting it was starting to fade. People were going, what the hell's up with this electoral college? And then you were like, give them all the money in the world. Like, give them as much as they can. Because this also exists on the Democrats.
Yes.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
This is not anything other than corporate America. And corporate America is a part of... Sam Walton is a quintessential example. This man is a racist who was also like a huge Protestant. Walt Disney, like every corporate America thing is like very rooted in this culture because it's a culture that's based on power and money. Yeah. And they've built these things over, a century. And
at least.
Yeah, they're the ones that are in power, and they believe in this stuff, even at their core. It's subconscious for some of them at this point, but it's never been dealt with.
Because, and the reason for that is
this funny?
It sucks.
We're having a good time.
That's, dude,
I like it. I enjoy talking to somebody about it that's not
funny.
My dad.
I want it to be funny, but they won't. They're making me be the voice of reason.
That's how I feel. Every time I try and shoot a video for TikTok, I'm like, I want this to be humorous. I want to have jokes. And then I start doing it and I get mad. I can't tell you how many videos I stop and I just go, Jesus fucking, I'll kill my fucking self. I can't keep doing this anymore. I just get angry when I'm watching it or when I'm saying it. Yeah. And it is because I think for... when you see what has transpired, like, dude, I just watched a video of Charlie Kirk trying to argue that redlining didn't happen. And it's like, dude, he was like, black banks said no to black consumers, and you were like, yeah, that's how deep it goes. Like,
Yeah,
it's such
no, exactly.
The culture is so anti-black
And-
that even oh my god,
And
dude, I want
to your point about the fact that this exists like on sort of across the political spectrum, and I kind of touched on this earlier, but it's like so ingrained in our society that people still view, in people who are not fundamentalist Christians or in the KKK or whatever, still view state sovereignty from the federal government as like an important protection of their way of life, and even if they don't agree with these things that this institutionalizes. And it's just because there's a fundamental sort of propaganda that came along with this, right? That we needed this because it was the only way our system could work. And really the only reason it was the only way our system could work is because we wanted to include these sort of like, you know, the economic benefits of having slaves,
right,
and having you know, these large plantation colonies,
Well, and
to join up with the United States at the beginning.
Right.
And the reason why we can't get rid of the KKK and we can't get rid of Nazis is because the same moneyed interests know that to do that would also mean taking a huge bite out of their apple as well.
Right.
And they can't, it's like they have to coexist with segregationists and, you know, fascists and Christian fundamentalists, because otherwise, like, to do otherwise would be a huge threat to their power.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. I mean, it's only here to provide protection for minority rule, and the minorities who rule are the people with all the money.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I think that it's like it would be different if we had like a state full of trans people,
right?
You know,
right,
or
you're saying all trans
right.
people should move to one state?
Honestly, I don't think it's the worst idea in America right
Yeah.
now. I think if
they should
could
move to Wyoming,
if they could
It's
take
the least
Wyoming,
populated,
and it's starting to be populated by Hollywood elites who
Yeah.
are a little bit more liberal. You've got
Yeah.
some money there, and
Yep.
then you move to Wyoming, you take it over, then you take North Dakota, Montana. It's a
Yeah.
little cold. You're gonna have to find, you
Yeah.
know, get a jacket, but
Yeah.
I think it'd be different if there were predominantly black states, but even in the
yeah.
states that are the most, like the highest percentage black in the country, they don't have black representation at the state level. Like
Yes.
Mississippi is like 40%.
they gerrymander it to not have that, because the whole purpose is not to help people. It's to empower. Like that's why almost every state, there's like a huge business interest in that state that controls all of the state politics.
Yes.
Because it's like it's meant to, the people who designed the Constitution were those business interests.
Yes.
Like in those separate colonies.
It is right
And
to
so
think
it's
that
like-
the founding fathers are revolutionaries who wanted to fight back against a tyrannical government. It is also right to think of them as businessmen with business interests who didn't want to be taxed, and they wanted to be
we're
deregulated.
serving them their own interests.
And we're serving their interest and the interest of you. No revolution is funded without wealth, which is one thing that I think like a lot of this common man argument is missing, is a way for you to convince people like you will gain more wealth if you eat the rich. Like you will, like it will be a thing that will lift all tides if you design a system that does not allow for people to exploit it in this way.
Yeah.
Like you will make money. Like I think that there has to be,
you got to get rid of the tent that all these ideologies are hiding under.
yeah,
Like,
and you can't just sit here and say money is bad. We all
Yeah.
want money because money is power, allows you to
Yeah.
have control over your life. It needs to be exploitation of you is wrong in every way, shape, and form, and you can't get distracted by a bunch of the bullshit, which I do all the time. I try
Dude.
really hard not to, but like
it's
constantly everywhere, and it's because it always has been. Like it's
Yes.
always been there, and we've never fucking
it
dealt
was
with it.
designed that way.
Yeah, and they did a great job. You
They
know?
nailed it.
That's
They
what
were like,
I always
how are we
describe
gonna keep this thing going forever?
federalism, because I have to explain it to people who don't speak English. So I'm
Yeah.
like, you know how sometimes you're like, that's nice-ish. You know,
Yeah.
you'll hear that. It's like, it's federalism. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, it's a federal government-ish. It's
Yeah.
like mostly the
Yeah.
states, and it's mostly like you see the Southern Bloc, and you start to notice, oh, like who gains power when? Oh, okay. It's like Reagan, Nixon. They're all carrying the Southern bloc. That's who is like voting for him. FDR like is carrying the Southern bloc. And that's another thing about FDR is like he gets a lot of love, but like, dude, I think Trump loves FDR. I think Trump loves FDR and William McKinley. I don't think he knows anything about them. I think he just knows that they're, I think he's watched like a couple YouTube documentaries,
some History
late at
Channel,
night.
like
what
you don't know about.
What everything he's doing is FDR coded, but as William McKinley, which is hilarious to try to mix the worst and the best. But like, dude, the internment stuff, like this is all very pro-Southern Democrat at the time, and you know, it's not something that is. You're not going to have Republicans and Democrats and get out of this system. It will take. Bring the Whigs back. We're Whigs now. I think the Whigs were actually, that's probably not the party to. It's like bringing Enron back.
The way that I want to sort of round this thing out is by playing a couple
we have to
clips.
end this? I didn't know.
No, we're still in the middle of
this
it.
Was going. I thought this was.
This might be an all day in Denver.
We've actually just like so heavily like covered. It was very easy once I brought up the topic because I figured you would be a great person to have on for this because I knew you would have a lot to say about it.
Sure.
And so we basically like I didn't have to do any of the shit that I typed. I did a bunch of research or whatever.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Come on, let's do a part
it's
two.
Like it's a decent amount of stuff that I learned.
Doing
but
one long
a lot of it
episode.
I already kind of knew, right? But the way that I want to round this out is I want to play two clips. This first clip is again from the Pat Buchanan era of Crossfire, and it's him and Tom Braden, the co-host of Crossfire, and they're talking to the Grand Wizard of the National KKK organization. And this is a 10-minute long video. I doubt that the entire thing is going to make it into the final edit. If we end up watching the entire thing, fine. We'll put the link to it in the description, so if you want to go watch it, you can. But I think that the striking thing about this is how much what this Grand Wizard of the KKK is saying in this clip is going to be like, oh, that's like normal shit that you could hear on a daily basis on you know, almost any media platform that you could frequent. So
this is a YouTube clip from yesterday.
Here's that. Here this is, and we can pause this at any moment. I'm sure that we'll want to stop it and be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I kind of was thinking about this too, and this is the whole issue I think with the sort of Christian fundamentalist movement and the idea of segregation in schools or homeschooling and all this stuff is there's the thing that links Christianity to those things is not Christian doctrine necessarily so much as it is like social, like it's a social creation.
Yes.
It's the same thing. It's the same way that race works, right?
Yes.
Like race is like a creation of socializing, right? And how we socialize children and social society. That's what race comes from. And the same thing of the connection between Christianity and these issues like segregation or like states' rights
not
and stuff
actually
like that.
Christian.
They're socially manufactured.
Right.
And so that's why you see in other parts of history where people who are like, you know, would be considered Christian fundamentalists are the abolitionists and things like that, because the connection between like Christian doctrine and you know, the politics of the modern day is always going to be a sort of socially constructed relationship. It's not actually, you know, the Bible 2,000 years ago doesn't address like a lot of the issues that we're facing today.
Right.
And so they have to create that, and it's socially created. And that's what I think is one thing that's important to say. That's why there are some Christians who don't believe in all this shit that we're talking about today, because that's not a part of the way that that Christianity has been socialized into politics for them.
Yeah, it's not a part of their culture. I think it's important to note again that what you're talking about with federalism is exactly that. It is, you don't need everybody, you need 30%.
Yeah.
If you can get 30% and voter turnout is 18%, you have a
just
much higher chance of winning if you just appeal to a couple other broad interests.
Yeah.
So most people, most Christians, and I would say most Christians don't agree with 90% of this. What I will say is that in the culture of evangelical Christianity anywhere in the country, it is baked into its DNA.
Yeah.
It is a part of the subconscious. Yeah. And if you don't deconstruct it, it's like definitely still there. Mm-hmm. But like this is designed to be specifically in certain states, in certain districts, like that. It's built around that, and it's because it's just allowed it to fester there.
It was meant to be this way, and so that's why I want to round this out with a clip. This is an interview of the KKK Grand Wizard in 1983 on Crossfire. At first, you're gonna hear the first voice you're gonna hear is Tom Braden, and he is condescending to this KKK Grand Wizard the entire time. And him and the guy get into it towards the end. And then the other interviewer is Pat Buchanan, who is like seriously one of the biggest pieces of shit.
Very bad person
in recent history. But here they are interviewing the Grand Wizard of the KKK.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my humble duty tonight to introduce
Tom
you
Braden's got a great voice.
to the Grand and Imperial Wizard of the Invisible Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, Mr. Bill Wilkinson. Oh, Imperial Wizard, can you tell me?
Oh, Imperial Wizard. And it just cuts to this guy. He looks so stupid.
This is exactly what I imagined somebody playing RuneScape looks like.
Yeah,
It's just somebody.
Yes.
Let's go to a RuneScape convention.
This guy, if this Bill Wilkinson fella was alive in the year 2008, he would have been on the Chans, dude. Like, he would have been on the Chans.
Yes.
He is a fucking power user, bro.
Yes, dude.
This guy has computer face, and they don't even have computers really back then.
Yeah, bro. This guy had a VPN in 1983. This guy he's in deep. He knows the government's after him, and he's going to ward him off. That looks like a Pepe Le Frog patch on his little...
does.
Dude, Oh Imperial Wizard hits hard as hell.
It's really
He hates
funny.
him. I love it, dude. This guy...
Here we go.
Oh Imperial.
Can you tell me, and us, 100 years after you your predecessors set the South aflame with the cross burnings, lynchings, and other events, you should be bothering this country still?
To begin with, I believe a slight rebuttal is in order for your opening statements, or the opening statements that was made about the Klan. We are not anti-Catholic. We are not anti-Semitic. We believe in the white race. We believe that at this point in time that white Americans are being treated as second-class citizens, that the federal laws, the civil rights laws, have created a dual system of justice in this country, a set of federal laws that protects the interest of minorities and local and state laws.
But Grand and Imperial Wizard, if I may,
of white people.
If I may interrupt, if I might be so bold as to interrupt the Imperial Wizard, it says on a sheet that you people hand out to the young and the youths of our high schools, it says, if you want to join the Klan, quote, I swear that I am of white, non-Jewish heritage. Are you fed up with special privileges given to blacks? That's a quotation from your own literature.
Absolutely. We are
Well,
a Christian.
what do you mean you're not anti-Semitic?
We are a Christian organization. We also don't allow Buddhists or Muslims or atheists in the organization.
When did you take in the Pat Buchanans? When I was a kid in Dubuque, Iowa, the Ku Klux Klan, which was then fairly powerful in Indiana, about 1922 or 3, somewhere in there, you were anti-Catholic.
The Klan has had different views from time to time on lesser issues.
Mm-hmm.
The one issue we've never changed on is that of segregation. We believe that God has commanded us to separate ourselves from other races. In fact, that's not a unique stand. Billy Graham, just a few years ago, himself segregated his crusade
Billy
audiences.
Graham.
He preached segregation. The Southern Baptist and the National Baptist, one was black, one was white. They practiced and preached segregation. So we didn't invent segregation. We just still believe in it.
Let me ask you about something, and you did correct it, let me say, before the show started, something I was unaware of. But there...
Yeah, segregationists.
Billy Graham was a segregationist?
Yeah. Yeah, he literally just pointed out, he's like, Billy Graham used to preach segregation. He would segregate his, the audience at his church, like black people would be over here, and yeah.
Wow, dude! I just thought he
That's
wrote
what he's
articles in
pointing
the
out.
newspaper. I didn't know.
No, dude. His congregation, he
would segregate Billy Graham, dude. Wow.
Yeah, squeaky clean.
Traveling televangelist.
Hopefully, Martin Luther King,
if he
Jr.
could only live
is
up
as squeaky
to be...
clean as Billy Graham.
Wow. That's wild.
That's what's so fucking insane about these guys. It's crazy. But dude, tell me that a lot of this shit that this grand wizard of the KKK, white people are being treated unfairly.
Right.
Like you can't, like we're setting back white people to help black people.
And what I think is also interesting is the fake advocacy for minority groups. So that's the other thing that they point to is segregation isn't just good for whites. We're proud to be white. We want to be white. But they adopt these policies to lean more moderate to get people to buy in, which are like, no, we think it's good for black people to be segregated.
Yes.
Now, that's only if they can afford the exact things that we get and have the exact same access to resources. Like there is
But I mean, what are we gonna I mean, come on, we can't have a quality of outcome.
No, that would be.
We couldn't have a quality of outcome. I mean, it's just personal choice.
And it's what you've done to yourself. It's what your bootstraps are only as big as you'll pull them up. I want that stupid hat.
Dude,
could
he
you
looks
imagine
insane.
being in any organization? It doesn't matter what I was doing. If they asked me to put that on, I'm out. Like there's no chance in hell.
Yeah. Thank God that's not the outfit we have to wear to do stand-up comedy.
Could you? The only way I'd quit.
No thanks.
Yeah, dude, I'd be done.
Sorry, showbiz. This isn't for me. But dude, Pat Buchanan's about to fucking grill this guy.
Oh, really? He's pro.
Not really. I mean, dude, he just talks in a tone that makes it sound like he's being adversarial. But
sure,
really
he's not really
teeing this guy up.
I was unaware of. But there are a number of Klan organizations, and I gather it is not yours, who march in tandem, arm in arm with members of the American Nazi Party. Now, the Nazis were responsible for the murder not simply of Jews in Germany, but American pilots, American soldiers. They're guilty of all manner of horrid atrocities.
I don't know if you knew this, Grand Wizard, but the Nazis, not only did they do the Holocaust, but they also fought a war.
At
that same time.
Pat, man, why don't you stay focused here? Just say Americans too. You don't.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking. He's like, look, I mean, nobody cares about the Holocaust.
Pat's
they
not
care that
say,
he shot American pilots.
Yeah, Pat's not going to say Muslims. Not going to involve the trans people in this.
The Romani.
Eugenics. Don't bring up any of that, Pat. Yeah, bring up the American pilots that were gunned down in war.
It's so strange.
It sucks.
Soldiers, they're guilty of all manner of horrid atrocities. They have on their, on their record some 250,000 American dead. Now, why would any patriotic American, or one who calls himself a patriotic American, be anywhere near the swastika, the insignia of Hitler's Germany?
Well, as you can see.
Or how about, why would anybody who's not a gigantic piece of shit?
Why is it more patriotic to defend an American soldier than it is to defend any Jewish person?
It's so fucking crazy.
Which at this point they still make up not a lot, but like a decent chunk of the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's fucking wild.
The swastika, the insignia of Hitler's Germany.
Well, as you conceded before the show, I did clear up that point. The Klan, the Invisible Empire, which I head, detests Nazis as much as we do communists. But I'd like to make one thing clear, that there's too much hype today about the Germans and the Nazis. Let's not forget that the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor and they led to death marches in Bataan.
What?
I don't believe that we should condemn all of the Germans for something that happened in Germany 40 years ago.
But all of the
and
Japanese
people, what Hitler did.
40 years ago.
Why would any patriot?
40 years ago. You're saying this from 40 years ago.
I know.
40 years ago is like such a not long.
He's like, look, I was like 10 when that happened, all right? What, are we going to get hung up on the past?
Dude. There's nothing traumatic that happens when you're 10. You can't get traumatized until...
He's like, look, the Holocaust was 40 years ago, okay? What, are we going to be pissed off about it still?
Dude, Forrest Gump was 40 years ago. Imagine if Forrest Gump was the Holocaust. Oh, yeah, dude, can't we just forget about it? Dude, I can't forget about Forrest Gump. You think I could forget about the Holocaust? I could still quote Pulp Fiction.
Oh, man.
Fucking sucks, dude.
And the Klan's groups with which I guess you're associated with members, if not the leadership, why would they march with people who march under the swastika?
We don't.
You don't. Why do your colleagues do that?
I believe, to make it clear at first, we're the only national Klan organization left. There have been those that have come and gone. It's sort of like the political parties, the Democrats, Republicans, American independents. They come and they go. They splinter and they regroup and rejoin. Right now, we are the major unquestioned Klan organization in America. There's some people that we have expelled from our organization that will start other branches. In their anxiety to get membership and support, they will join with anyone, including Nazis.
Imagine looking at this man.
I believe a quote by you I read in a book on the Klan
and
today.
Thinking that you're
you were denouncing
supreme.
the quote, I think it was Jew-controlled media. Have you used that term?
Media.
I may have used that term.
It's a direct quote.
Hey, attaboy. Attaboy, wizard.
Well, I don't mean by that anything at this point in time. I believe that a lot of Jews are prominent in the media, but I believe that a lot of Baptists and a lot of Methodists and a lot of other people are.
Why would you use the term Jew-controlled media?
Well,
you don't run around saying the Baptist-controlled media is keeping us off the air, do you?
I no longer use that term. It's been a number of years ago that I would have made that comment, and I'm not apologizing for what I might have said at that time.
All right, let's talk about black.
Why would you not apologize?
He's like, look, I regret using the term, but I'm not going to say I'm sorry.
Hell, brother, I didn't know you were going to be so goddamn mad about it.
It's like, Pat, I thought you were going to be on my side.
Yeah, man, shit. If I'd have thought anybody'd be mad about it, I wouldn't have said it. Hey, KKK don't want to do anything to make somebody mad. We don't want to do anything to piss anybody off. I wouldn't say Jew-controlled media unless I really felt it.
He's like, look, why do you keep bringing up the past?
Well, you said it 5 years ago.
He's like, you published the article yesterday, sir. Yeah, dude. This guy, it's like there's so many sort of dog whistles and things that are happening that he's saying that I think are so common now.
Yes.
That it's like...
Well...
And this is what I want to hammer home about this, I guess, to an extent, is like the reason why they don't have to, like, why they don't need a bunch of membership is because these sorts of ideas, like, people don't have to join the KKK anymore. Like, they don't need to, because the stuff that they want to do is already being pushed without having to even join those groups.
Right. You know what's interesting about it is, like, the Great Migration is when blacks leave the South because of fear of terrorism from the KKK. And something I haven't really thought about until this moment, this conversation, is, like, that is a political weapon where they are driving out voters in a system that allows states to have rights. Like, there was this coup in Wilmington in 1898, post-Civil War, where black people started to take power. They started to organize politically in town, and they were like, smart, corporate, they were capitalists.
We have rights that we can exercise.
Yeah, but they were also, like, really, like, smart leaders. So, like, people were rallying around them, and then the Klan overtook and was like, no, you won't be a part of that. Like, it was another Tulsa massacre, but it's like 1898, and they do it. And I think now it's interesting to see the Klan and to think about what you're saying, how mainstream it is, and that's because they pushed out everybody that could have opposed it in the 30s. Like, the whole reason, oh, dude, do you know about this is going to sound bad, but the stereotype about chicken and watermelon?
Uh-huh.
Do you know, like, the origins of that?
No.
I believe it's because they only allowed blacks to cultivate chickens or slaves to
that's like a part, but, like, black people, they're in the South, right?
Yeah.
That's like, there's a reason.
Yeah.
It's not great, but it's definitely, they're in the South. And they can't really afford to move because they're slaves.
Yeah.
Think about, just for a second, what are the number one, like, chicken restaurants in the country? What are they?
Popeyes,
which is a Louisiana kitchen.
Churches,
which is made in Texas.
Yeah, they're southern.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, Chick-fil-A, all of these things.
Restaurants.
It's all southern restaurants. And then watermelon, which specifically only grows in the South. So these cultural things that are food is like one of the most cultural things that you have is adapted over a century.
Staple of society.
Exactly. And then you terrorize these people out of that area. They have no money because they've been disenfranchised for centuries. They have nothing. So they are in public life in these places that allow them, which are, Detroit, Chicago. They're just leaving the South and going to these places. So now white people in these places are driving by the bus stop and they're seeing black people who are eating the one thing that reminds them of home. You might as well see like Mexicans at a taco truck and be like, you're not going to believe it. I think these Mexicans like tacos. It's like, no, dude, it's like the food of your home and where you're from and the thing that you're holding on to. So it's like black people like chicken and watermelon. No, you motherfucker. Everybody in the South likes chicken and watermelon, but you just see this thing and it shapes your perspective. And it's I just wonder if like what they do by getting them out is actually politically, it's all political. And it's this idea of we can't have them voting here. We can't have them as a piece of our society. We've got to segregate them to different states completely. Because this is the exact same fucking thing that you hear today. He'll have the same opinions on abortion. He'll have the same opinions on illegal immigration. All of it's going to be the Jew-controlled media. Like this might as well be a Marjorie Taylor Greene campaign event.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
It's Moon Kampf. Sorry. I'm sorry. Cut that out. Delete that, please.
I want to go. My brother came back from the airborne in Vietnam, and he told me, and that of the bodies that he took out as a medical officer, he said, 50% of those guys were black kids, served in the United States and Vietnam. This was it was a crack frontline unit, and these were American blacks who died in higher numbers for their country in Southeast Asia in that war than did white Americans, as a matter of fact, in the Vietnam War. Now, how can you be against a race which contains people who are out there fighting for their country just as much as white Christian Protestant Americans are?
That's something else that needs to be cleared up, Pat. We're not against the black race. We're not against. We believe in free enterprise for this country. We believe that everyone should have the same rights.
Well,
right
Mr.
now,
Wizard, it says right here. Wait a minute, Let me interrupt you for a minute, Mr. Wizard. It says right here, you believe in the final solution, which is black repatriation to Africa. Now,
Abraham Lincoln. But now look, I'm not going to be cut off in the middle.
No, but I'm not going to be shut off either. You're running around on a bed sheet. I don't have the bed sheet. Can you I want to ask you this question.
Come on,
Can you
Tom
imagine
Braden.
this country repatriating all the black Americans that Pat just spoke about to Africa?
No.
I mean, what kind of nonsense
No, I
is
can't.
that? Well, what are you saying it for then?
I'm not saying it.
Well, it says right here.
No, that's your paper. That's not my paper.
That's your paper. I took the quote and wrote it on this blue paper.
That's not my paper. Now, to get back to it, now just a minute. I answered your question. Now, I want to finish what I was saying. We feel that affirmative action is discriminating against white people, and there is no question about it. Two wrongs don't make a right. Because black people were hurt and discriminated against in the past does not justify the discrimination against white people now. And we're asking for an end to that.
Look, this is the thing, and I think
I'm against
racial
racial quota.
Known is what we look at and we say, this guy sucks at arguing and he's dodging all the questions. This is what works. And this is by platforming this guy, you are not doing what you think you're doing. What Pat Buchanan is doing is setting him up softball questions to get him to justify his beliefs in a contemporary time that does not stand for what he believes. When you shouldn't be giving this anything at all. You should be giving the
be like, why would we do that? Nobody believes what this guy believes.
If anything, they should have the interview with him and then they should chop it up and do what the Daily Show does and cuts like making him look stupid. Because what you do when you allow this is it's the same thing with federalism. It's like you're allowing some compromise for you to get your visions out there. And and
it feeds off of it. Like if that didn't exist, then he wouldn't actually have any ground to stand on in these softball questions, right? But because he can couch it in individual rights,
Yes.
states' rights,
Yes.
protection from
Tyranny.
authoritarianism
Yeah,
and
for
tyranny.
the black community too.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
The only way that we conquer is by dividing.
Yeah.
He just it's like it's very stupid and careless. And I mean, I'm glad that it exists because you get to see it. But when you know, I mean, I think this is another thing is like the media is 100% responsible for this continual and this non-repentant culture.
And I think that it's like it's easy to see this interview and be like, oh, this Tom Braden guy is really like making fun of him and saying he wears a bed sheet or whatever. But it's like, dude, you're talking to him like he's a serious guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're having him on your
platformed.
serious show
Right.
on CNN. Like he's anything that he's saying actually, you know, is coherent or should be shared amongst the masses.
And you should not be allowing him to speak for himself. You should be doing what Tom Braden is doing, but he should be doing it better, which is reading the literature back to the man and saying, justify this statement.
Yeah.
Like, because the
How can you
statements
say
are,
you're not anti-Semitic and then use the phrase Jew-controlled media?
Exactly. Like, that's great, but just stick to what they're saying as an organization, because when you allow a man to speak for himself, what you're allowing is for him to be humanized.
Yeah.
And this, look at it. This should not be humanized. This should not be like tolerated as the same thing as us. This is obviously a man who is lost. This is a person whose only passion in life is hate. Like this isn't nothing else would make you wear that outfit other than hating yourself. There's no way else that you could be that person unless you were truly miserable in life. That's how you get into Christianity, is because you're a deep fucking addict in something, and then you find the Lord and now you believe in speaking in tongues. Nothing makes you look stupid like hating yourself.
Shake around them snakes.
Yeah, dude, you can't have this person on. You can't have somebody holding snakes in the air. Fucking, you don't put them on CNN. They don't go on Joe Rogan. That's the problem with like allowing these people time without ridicule.
Yeah.
It should be just like nonstop.
Well, let's hear him out.
Hey, how could you, let's just think about this ethically. How do you, intellectually speaking, how can you justify this belief you have? Shut the fuck up.
It's the tolerance of intolerance paradox.
Yeah. And there is no way to like ultimately, like, if you do think about it logically, there is no justification for anything they're saying. But like at the end of the day, if you give this guy enough airtime, like he can talk around in circles enough that most people will eventually come to like the sort of conclusion that, oh, he's not as unreasonable as I thought.
Well, yeah, because
and that's the first step. That's the first step of like growing their influence.
To what you're speaking to, there is a core common DNA that we all share. I think this federalism, this idea of states' rights, protecting against the federal government, that's a thing that I feel. That's a thing that like is not just it's baked into the core DNA of every American. Yeah. And when you allow somebody to rant, it is not hard to get them to that place. Yeah. Like it's not hard.
Like, I just want to live my life and you live your life.
Right. We're not trained to think logically or to deconstruct what we're reading. It's why if somebody reads a book, they go, this book is real. Like you read a book, you're like, somebody wrote it down. It's got to be true.
Well, and they also just like the sort of like conflating, you know, what is an acceptable sort of like personal mindset to be like live and let live, brother. Like
right,
but that's not a good way to run a society.
Yes,
like
you can't
like that can't be like the blanket way that we just sort of like.
Hey, look, man, if the kids want to smoke cigarettes, let them smoke cigarettes, man.
Yeah.
Just come on. Who am I to control the kids? Let the kids do crack cocaine.
It's not a good way to structure a healthy world for people.
Hey, come on, man. It makes him feel good. Let him do a little crack. I think we should all be able to do a little crack. This guy looks like the guy who's like, I don't freebase cocaine.
I'm against reverse discrimination. I'm against racial quotas. I'm against affirmative action as it's practiced.
Shut the fuck up, Pat Buchanan.
You said, when I introduced you, I didn't say that your organization was. I said, historically, to most Americans, you're anti-Catholic and anti-Semitic and racist. In other words, anti-black. You said, we're not anti-Catholic.
Right.
We're not anti-Semitic. You didn't deny the racist thing.
Well, it depends on your definition of racist. I'm a segregationist, okay? I believe that God has commanded me not to mix with other races. For that reason, I want to have schools where I can send my children to a white school. I want to be able to go to my white neighborhoods, to white businesses,
All right,
for those things. So if that terms me as a racist, then I'm a racist.
Wait a minute, you can do that, but you can't have tax exemptions in your all-white school. And if it's a public school, now black kids whose parents' taxes pay for that school, they got a right to go to that neighborhood school. Now, if you want an all-white school, all-white academy, you can do that right now. You just don't get a tax exemption for it. So what's your complaint?
You say you can do that. Now, maybe I can, maybe you can, but what about the poor people that don't have the money to send their children to private schools? They can't. They're being deprived the right to practice
same
their
argument
religion
they're using now with
because
school
they
vouchers.
don't have the money to send them to a private
The
school.
people who are
There's
doing
no
it are
reason
people
why
who
in this great land of ours
can
we
already
couldn't
afford
have a three-tiered school system, a black school and a white school and an integrated school, and give everyone their choice. We would have much less dissension. We would have much less racial problems in the schools. And if those people that are seeking to integrate the races in this country really were seeking to do the best for both races, they would adopt this system and let integration proceed gradually.
What do you think?
What's the Grand Wizard's
Bill
name?
Wilkinson.
Here's my guess, because here's the funny thing about that saying, "Oh, we'll have a white school and a black school and an integrated school." Because again, like statistically, and this is the problem with platforming these people, is like some of these ideas aren't like
this
problem.
motherfucker's still alive.
Oh, that's funny. So Brown v. Board of Education.
Yeah.
Like one of the big problems with that is that once you have integration, you're not going to believe which teachers they fired.
Who was it, Stephen?
Oh, well,
drum roll.
Pretty predominantly white institutions teaching became. And so black students started to fail because they have nobody that looks like them in their classrooms.
You mean that it's important to have people who can understand the things that these kids are dealing with, teaching them about the things that we think they need to learn?
I can neither confirm nor deny. But I think,
Stephen, what it sounds like to me is that you're saying representation is important.
That might be.
And I got to tell you, I'm against racial quotas.
Dude, Denham Springs, Louisiana.
Yeah,
see, it's always Louisiana.
Dude.
But what's interesting about that, and it just shows how not true it is. He doesn't want a black school and a white school and an integrated school, because in Denham Springs, Louisiana, it's rural. You don't have that. You can't. There's no money for that. Who's going to fund it? You think the taxes are going to go equally to all three schools? How are they going to bus them from around the districts?
Yeah.
You've got 4 schools. So are you going to have now you're going to have 12 schools and they're all going to be around the same place? Like, it's not an argument in good faith. It's an argument to justify the viewpoints and to convince people that you're not crazy when you are. Look at yourself. You are crazy. You're a crazy person.
And it seems so like he's presenting a reasonable fix to the issue. Well, everybody can have what they want. Right? White kids can go to a white school if that's what their parents want. And black kids can go to a black school if their parents want. And they can even go to an integrated school if that's what their parents want. But like you said, in practical terms, it's not feasible, and it's way less feasible than just being like, how about we don't discriminate?
Right.
How about we just don't have an institutionalized form of discrimination?
Why are your kids better than my kids?
Yeah.
And if you want the public system to change, why don't you just do what we do?
Yeah.
And make change at the school. Like, be active, be involved, be engaged. Like, why are...
Just get elected to the school board.
Yeah, or show up to PTA meetings or talk to the teachers. Like, do anything. Like, I think the only option should be public school or homeschool.
Yeah.
I think that's it. You can hire a teacher
that's...
to come into your home and teach your kid every day. You could pay him $40,000 a year. And if you don't want to do that, then you go to public school.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Like, if you want to be homeschooled, then be homeschooled.
I tend to agree with you. Yeah. But this is all like what that guy is talking about, and the things that he's saying and the reasons that he's giving are all like, there. You can do a direct line from like his ideology to like what is happening now in education.
Yes,
like
exactly.
It's
return
a direct
to the
line.
states, and people are saying right now they're not going to segregate. You have Trump derangement syndrome. And again, I want to be clear that like nothing that I ever say is purely anti-Trump. It is anti-Christian nationalist, and I think that Trump became the instrument for Christian nationalists.
Yeah.
Like he's a unique character, but I think he is propped up by that institution 110%.
Yes.
And I don't know, man. I don't think that you're going to see a big change until people start to recognize, like, because they're going to come for it's already segregated. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Schools are already, the federal government is still working on desegregating the schools. And it's the same thing with him firing the labor relations boards, the chairs that oversee that, when they are the ones investigating Elon Musk and Donald. It's like, it's not about they will return to segregation. It's that they will refuse to stopping segregation. Like, they're just going to allow it to continue and get worse.
Yeah. And here, so this next clip is the last one we're going to play. And this is from a documentary called Jesus Camp.
Oh,
have you seen it?
Yeah. Well, I've only heard about it. I've never watched it.
So
is it on YouTube? Is the full thing on YouTube?
It's on YouTube for free.
Oh,
and
wow.
Tubi as well.
Yes. Okay, nice.
But we're going to play a clip. This is from sort of the first 15 minutes of the documentary. It's a couple minutes long, and it's the scene that I'm setting here is this is a kid that gets followed throughout the documentary. His name is Levi, and he's going to this fundamentalist Christian church, and his mom is in her kitchen with the documentarians. They're kind of like hanging out at their house for the day, and she's describing why she thinks that school choice is important and a parent's right to decide for their children's education, which is ultimately, related and falls under this entire umbrella that we've been talking about this whole time: parents' rights, states' rights. They're one and the same. These things go hand in hand. And she's explaining why it's an important issue to her. And we've also included some stuff where there's a pretty sick cartoon about creation.
And this was recorded in 2005 for reference. Movie came out in 2006.
So the KKK interview is from 1983. This is sort of halfway between then and now.
22 years later,
yeah. And this is sort of gives you an idea of like how the way that people talked about this transformed over time. So here's a clip from that. Let me go ahead and record the screen.
Time of creation, Garden of Eden, approximately 6,000 years ago.
Was it an explosion? Did we come from a glob of goo? Ugh. Ugh. I don't think so.
This is all taking place in like Blue Springs and Lee Summit, Missouri.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Is this true?
Yes. These people are like 3 hours out from Kansas City.
Within there,
Just based on a belief.
Levi! Come here.
Crazy rat.
Think about how much money went into that animatronic, that little mascot. Exploring creation with physical science.
This shit is
One
crazy.
popular thing to do in American politics is to note that the summers in the United States over the past few years have been very warm. As a result, global warming must be real. What's wrong with this reasoning?
It's only gone up 0.6 degrees.
Yeah, it's not really a big problem, is it?
I don't think that it's gonna hurt us.
It's a huge political issue, global warming is, and that's why it's really important for you to understand.
Is evolution too?
Not really.
Creationism?
It's becoming one now. What if you had to go to a school where the teacher said creationism is stupid, and you're stupid if you believe in it?
I think they should.
Well, or what if you had to go to a school where your teacher said evolution is stupid, and you're stupid if you believe in it?
I wouldn't mind that.
You wouldn't mind it. If you look at creationism, you realize it's the only possible answer to all the questions.
That's exactly what Dad said.
Mm-hmm. It's the only possible answer to all the questions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Did you get to the part on here where it says that Science doesn't prove anything. And it's really interesting when you look at it that way.
It is.
It is.
It is. It's really interesting when you look at it that way. It is. Is it? When does that happen? When do you get interested? Because I haven't yet.
In this pause right here,
that George
W. Bush in the background.
Dude,
this is
dude. The baseline of education is asking questions, not giving answers.
Yes.
She's like, "Have you ever thought about it this way?" And before you can even answer, she's like, "It's really interesting if you think about it like this." It's like, dude, this is.
Dude, she wants to indoctrinate her child.
That's all it is.
Yeah,
that is 100.
What she's fighting for is the right to indoctrinate her own child.
Leo made the right choice by giving up science for Christ.
75% of kids in the United States are that are homeschooled are evangelical Christians.
Yeah, dude, they have like little proms.
Yeah,
they have basketball leagues.
God didn't say have
leagues.
children and give my kids to someone else for 8 hours a day. And if I can homeschool them, as well as the school can public school them,
I got bad news.
why would I send them somewhere else for 8 hours a day?
Yeah.
Our nation was founded on Judeo-Christian values.
Not true.
We know when things started changing. You know, prayer got taken out of school, and the schools started falling apart.
This lady loves
And now the
Walmart.
rest of us are going, wait a minute, where is my country? Our firm belief is there are two kinds of people in the world, people who love Jesus and people who don't. And I want my kids to grow up knowing, you know what, it's a good thing to be a Christian.
Get credit.
Yeah, Matthew Spalding, our guest.
Tomorrow, Glenn Thomas gives us a first-hand perspective from Christian Marines involved in Operation Iraqi Freedom in his book, God Saw Them Through. So tomorrow ought to be very interesting. We'll see you back here then.
Wow.
Yep.
Do you listen to conservative talk radio?
No.
Yeah, I
No?
do. I do.
That's like all I listen to.
I do a little bit. Yeah. I mean, like when I'm not looking up conservative videos, I'll throw it on in the car or
Yeah,
something
I
I do a lot of conservative YouTube.
Oh, see, I don't want my algorithm to. I don't want it. I don't like it to
Mine's
be fed
tanked,
to me.
brother. You can ask Brett, dude.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Brett signed into the Jakin.Off YouTube
Yeah.
channel. It's bad.
It's
dude.
kind of just in the zeitgeist of Jakin.Off that Jake's algorithm is the most based, the most fried algorithm.
That's amazing.
It's not good, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, it's hard to watch that specifically because you know that out of the 75% that are homeschooled evangelical, that's 100% of them.
Yeah.
Like that's how it goes.
Yeah,
that is
dude,
not.
And I would highly recommend people check out the documentary because it does a really good job of sort of showing what is going on behind the scenes, right? And what it is that these people are actually fighting for it's scary, man. Like, you know, that's at the beginning of the documentary, but like as it goes on, you start to see like this is about a specific church camp that's ran by this lady. What's her name again, Brett?
Oh, well, so glad you asked.
you got her on LinkedIn.
Her name is Becky Fisher.
Have y'all seen the video of the lady painting Trump at the evangelical conference?
Yeah, I have.
With the worship stuff.
Yes.
So I think that's like an important bow to tie on.
Yeah.
It's that mega church aspect. Let's bring because in this documentary there's a cool worship band and they have one dude who's just cutting and scratching on a turntable as part of the band.
Yeah.
But then there's this Bush appointed prayer advisor who comes and speaks to them, and it's in the height of when Sam Alito's getting nominated, and they cut to clips later in the documentary of them listening to the conservative talk radio about how important it is for the Christians that we pray in Sam Alito and guide, and they all there's a part in the documentary where there's a cutout of George Bush and they all all these children at this camp scream to him, "In God we trust."
Yeah. They love the presidents
insane.
that are going to do the things that they want them to do, even if they're not even if they aren't actually representative of like what these people want, right? Like George W. Bush is not an evangelical Christian guy himself. Like he's a fucking fail son of a CIA director.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
he does cocaine and fucking he doesn't care about.
He went to Yale. He's a party boy.
Dude, he
does that frat boy
doesn't believe
shit.
in that stuff. Donald Trump is not a Christian guy.
But it's not
Like,
about it.
That's not what it's about for these people.
And then they
don't-
justify it by saying, you know, the Lord picks and ordains people that you would never expect who can do things you could never imagine.
God works in mysterious ways,
David
dude.
was flawed, and yet he beat Goliath and became, the king of all. Like it's always this same propaganda that you allow, and this is what like is crazy is people believe all these conspiracies. The Earth is flat. The Hitler's in a bunker, and just 9/11's an inside job. Whatever you want to waste your time on, when it's like, dude, if you really look at the actual issues that are happening, it's way deeper and way more complex, and you could do a lot more good if you just focused on that,
the actual conspiracy.
Yeah,
that the founding fathers wanted to enshrine oppression into the system of governance in this country.
And now big tech is working to keep that forever.
Yeah.
I think those are two great places to start. If you're on Jakin.Off Nation, I assume that you are conspiratorial in mindset. So get to work. Start digging.
Yeah. But we can only go up from here, or we can go even further down.
Forever.
Those are the only two. There's no staying the same. That's what I've learned. Steven, where can people find you?
You can please find me at your local state capitol yelling at politicians. Or
Shitting in the Speaker of the House's desk.
God, dude, if I could, I would. I'm going to call Mike Johnson after that. You want to call Mike Johnson the next time I'm here?
Hey, Mike Johnson?
Do you want to? We'll text him the next time I
maybe we
come
should.
up. You can find me at formerly Fat Steven on pretty much everything. Special on YouTube. Please go watch it. It was very fun.
The spesh. We'll put a link. We'll put a link to the spesh in the
Brett.
I'll put it in there. I was just saying I attended both of the Steven shows for the special, and it was the energy there was just insane.
Yeah,
and it was a great time.
Barrel one made the cut.
You could cut it with the knife. The same way that you could cut anything with a knife.
Watching me do that special is like watching Bill Wilkinson in between those two on Crossfire. Just
Bill v. Tom v. Pat. The three-headed dragon.
The Grand Dragon.
And this episode comes out on the 24th. If you have any specific
the 24th of April.
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
You doing anything in Australia?
Yeah. I'm doing a couple
Aussies.
shows in Sydney. I'll be in Perth,
Aussie fans.
Melbourne,
Perth, Melbourne, and Auckland. I'll be in Auckland in 2027.
Auckland.
So if you want to come in 2027,
Melbourne,
hit up them pokies.
Yeah, hit up the pokies, dude.
You can't go to a bar without one.
You
apparently.
can't go to a bar without the pokies.
I'll shout out Pure Chaos Comedy, the Lawrence Comedy Festival, the Kansas Comedy Festival, Pure Kansas Comedy Festival, Brett Gordon and all them. That's like May 2nd through whatever, and then Fountain City Comedy Fest in the fall, and then I'm headlining the Funny Bone in Kansas City.
Damn, dude.
On July 24th. So
sweet.
I'm on a run all summer. Please come check me out.
KC, show up.
I'll be at 25 states.
KC, show up. As always, you can follow this podcast at Jakin.Off.Podcast. You can send anything at all to Jakin.Off.Podcast@gmail.com. I'll look at it at least once. That's the Jakin.Off guarantee. One look, and I'll take a look. But other than that, Brett, you got anything?
Be kind to yourself. Love each other.
Yeah. Thanks so much for listening, and I love you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.